Good morning and welcome. Welcome to my live stream. It's Sunday, the 18th of May, and you have found me here to want to fight with CPS, and I'm your host, Bob Pace. You found me on Facebook, and I'm glad you did. Fight CPS with Bob Pace. This is a live stream that's broadcast around the world. And I've talked to over 23 countries, including the U.S., and all the 50 states, too, and the District of Columbia. And I'm here to address and to help those that have a CPS case where, unfortunately, they're being penalized because they are low income. Just because they're low income, they have to be watchdog. It's supposed to be what the government mandated is to protect our children from neglect and abuse. And right now, it doesn't seem to be doing that. And I know it's a horrible, horrible thing that you encountered, because there are entities within every county and every state that I call the child protection system. It was mandated by Congress in 1962 that social services would create a group of social workers that would protect their children from neglect and abuse. That started in 1962. In 1974, they made the laws for enforcing CPS. In 1978, they enacted the Indian Child Welfare Act, which stopped the mass taking of Indian children. This has been going on since 1875, for over 100 years. Then in 1997, President Clinton signed into law the incentive law, which mandated that, well, didn't mandate, but it encouraged the child protection systems to put the kids and adopt them through foster care instead of in family reunification. They were given $35,000 per case for a child to be adopted in foster care, as opposed to family reunification. So those are major milestones in the history of CPS. The children welfare system has been going on. We've been doing it now for over 400 years, 425 years to be exact. In the early 1600s, when we were settling in North America, the colonists, there were cases of abuse of children, and people were prosecuted back then. And they talk about the history of child welfare, and they go from 1600s to 1875, and that was the start of what was called the societies. And the Society in New York was formed to protect children. Also in 1875, our first immigrants, the Native American Indians, being rounded up and put on reservations and slaughtered and murdered. It's very, very, very sad how we persecute people, especially the first immigrants. They were here first. The Vikings came later than the Europeans. The rest of the Europeans came over. The Vikings didn't stay. They explored as far west as the Mississippi River in Missouri and went north to Maine and Rhode Island and so forth. But they found it very hostile here, and it was really far away from their homeland to support it. They had settlements in Iceland and Greenland. But protecting our children is mandated by law. But what is so sad is that this protection has gotten out of hand so bad that instead of trying to help or support families which need it so bad, and being in poverty is not indication that you can't take care of your children. Being homeless, those kinds of things. It's sad that we're the wealthiest country on earth and we have so many people that are in poverty. We have our veterans, people that served our country, defended our freedom. They're homeless. You know, we need to look at this. This is very important. We need to look at CPS. Now, it's going to be investigated, or it is already been investigated. We have the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, that was created by President Trump in January. It's one of the first things he did when he took office. He made a campaign promise that he would weed out all the government waste and the government spending, because every couple months we try to balance our books and suddenly we're faced with the fact that Congress says we're out of money. And if we don't get the money, then we can't pay our people that are on retirement for Social Security. It's their money, by the way. A lot of people don't realize that when you pay a percentage after taxes, by the way, if you make $1, it's taxed first by the first by the federal government, then the state, and then there is also a set-aside tax for SSI. Then money is taken out to help the government function. Now, what they do with that money is they invest it and get interest. They don't give you back the interest. It is sad. And when you do retire, they don't give all it back to you that you've earned. They give it to you in dribbles. And a lot of you are on fixed income, including myself. And you have to pay the bills. And when the bills are going outlandishly, we have had this terrible, terrible glutton of wealth by the CEOs and the very wealthy. It's okay. I'm not against people making bucks, but don't forget there are decent people out there, people that care about families, that are trying to help with their children. And because they have to have a Spartan lifestyle, let's say, or they can't afford all the things, it impacts them taking their children for medical help. It impacts them getting medical help because they don't have the money for the medical. It also impacts a lot of the other services, intervention. You know, there is a cure to all this roundup of children and destroying of families. Not all families are bad, and not all children are bad, and all parents are bad. Some families, there's hiccups because of their situation. Because of your situation. If your house burns down, you're faced with having to rebuild your home. You still own the land. You still have to pay mortgage payments on it. But no one ever thinks about the idea of, well, FEMA is trying to help out people. They can help them so much easier if they just would fly in mobile homes and put them on the concrete aprons that are left after the fire and hook up the utilities to the mobile homes. Those could be RVs. There are countless thousands and thousands of RVs and other things there. Oh boy. I was hoping that was somebody that had a message or something here, but I don't know. I was hoping that this article that I have here would help us all here because it is so important that we realize that children do best with their families, with their biological parents, are the best ways, and studies have proved time and time again, are the best ways to raise children, And if they have a hiccup, they can be corrected. There's so many rogue entities out there. Now, I know this because I've been talking to over 1,700 plus people from around the world from Indonesia to Bangladesh to India to up to the Middle East to Saudi Arabia to Libya, then over to Africa to Liberia to Sudan to the Republic of Congo to Rwanda down to Mozambique, and then to South Africa and the provinces in South Africa. There are 9 of them in South Africa. And we have a very sweet, dear lady that calls in, Kita, Kita, from one of the provinces. Now, I've been to the Western Cape, which is the south part of Africa. But they're struggling too with CPS cases, as well as up to Europe, to England, Scotland, Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then we go across the pond and we go to North America, and it's Canada with their 13 provinces. I'm speaking to 4 of them. And of course, in the United States, all 50 states I've talked to, including the District of Columbia. Then south the border to Mexico, then to South America, north of Brazil, on the East Coast, Grenada. Then across the South Pacific to New Zealand, and to the land down under, Australia. And it's 2 states that I've talked to, Queensland and then Victoria. It's remarkable people that have called in. Very special people. And they come here regularly too, because I'm on twice a day. I come on at on the weekdays, typically at 10 o'clock. By the way, this Monday I'll be on at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock this Monday. And on the weekend, I'm on at 8 a.m., like this morning. And then I'm gone, and again, a second time on that same day, I'm on in the evenings, all 7 days at 7 p.m. That's rain or shine. I've never missed a date yet. And I've been doing this for 19 months. That's over a year and 6 months, 19 months. So 7 months. Yeah, a year and 7 months. That's a long time. That's a lot of talking and a lot of trying to help out and reach y'all. And I'm glad that you found me. I'm glad you found me because I want to help you. I want to help you with your case. And hello, Calex Cook from North Carolina. She just sent me an emoji. Thank you very much. Very sweet. Very sweet. You can interact with this live stream. You can do emojis. Besides hearts, you can do thumbs up and smiley faces. You can send me stars. Also, you can check below and follow me. And if you want to be notified when I'm on, hit the notification button. And please review me. I'm here to help you with your CPS case. Right or wrong, you have an issue. And most of the time, I would say probably 99% of the time, you guys are very truthful and open up with your hearts and expose what you're going through. It's a horrible, and I too have gone through it too. I too am a victim of CPS. I had a very corrupt entity, the Orange County Child Protection System. It was hard. I know what you're going through. I've been there myself. And it's one of the first things you need to do, and I have 5 rules I've come up with, is get an attorney. That's the only way that you're going to get your children back, is get an attorney. This is a very complex matter. It's like open heart surgery. If you need your heart worked on, you're going to get a professional. You're not going to have a plumber work on your heart. You're not going to open up your chest cavity and work it on yourself. You get a professional. That goes true for the child protection case that's against you, because they will try to take you to the cleaners, and they prey on low income people that are, it's no fault of their own, but are going through hard times. I know I'm a victim too. My life was set upside down starting in summer 2010. After working for 45 years, I was 60 years old, and I just, I'd got my forever home, my dream home. CPS started invading my life, our life. I had no idea who they were or how they functioned. If I knew what I knew today, 15 years ago, I would have put a stop to it right away. And that's to get an attorney. That's to get an attorney. But as you know, attorneys cost a lot of money. They cost a lot of money. Um, Attorneys, it's a very uh, hard profession fighting CPS. Now, I have an attorney that I work for that helps me with this live stream, who created this live stream. He's also the attorney that I sold my forever home to get the money in a quick sale to get my children back. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm a loving father, a family man, and I've raised 6 beautiful children who I love dearly, and their families. And 3 of them are my older ones. They're doing well in life. I've lost touch with them ever since this CPS case has been going on. I have 3 younger children. And unfortunately, at my age, I had young children. Most people, are still in their late 20s or 30s raising families, and I'm still in my 60s raising families. I still have 2 children at home. One is still a teenager, and then the other 2 are in their early 20s. It is hard, and I feel for what you're going through. I know what you're going through, and I so want to reach out and hug you all and tell you you'll be all right, to wipe away your tears, to have you come on my live stream and cry your heart out. I hear from Felicia, who is cruel. That's her handle on her YouTube room. And she'll come here twice a day, and she's struggling. She is so much struggling. She can't find out where her mother is. Her mother's been missing for a couple months. Everybody's ignoring her. Her brother, her family members have turned against her. They're booted out of her home. Her mother and her are homeless. And on top of that, her 2 babies have been taken from her. And she comes on here and asks us questions and asks for help. And, her last question, she's trying to get copies of her reports or paperwork. And they're refusing to help her up in Ventura, California. Or there'd be a little girl, a couple, Nisha, who are fighting to get their child back, who are wrongly accused of OGI, which is the bone disease, like rickets, where the bones are very fragile and break easily. And they, as parents, have been accused to abuse their children. Now, good morning, Megan Wilson. I'm so glad to have you in my room. And if you could please text me a message, either in a comment or a question, but it should be about CPS. Please state your first name, your city or county, your state, and if you're outside of the United States, your country. Also, please tell me about your CPS case from beginning to where you're at so that may help you. And that is a nice way to interact in this room, because you have the freedom to ask a question and I'll answer as best as I can. Now, I have 42 years of marriage experience. As I say, I've raised 6 children, so I have a lot of life skills I can help you out with. A lot of life skills. And one of them is fighting CPS. Now, another way that you can interact in this live stream is to be a guest. To be a guest in my live stream, all you do is write an email to my show producer, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com. And you just pick one of my 14 live streams that you want to be on. I want to be on Bob's Friday morning live stream, or I want to be on Bob's Saturday evening live stream, or Bob's Monday morning live stream, or his Tuesday evening. You send the email, she'll send you a link. Now, we use StreamYard as our software application. We have our own room. I have 2 rooms on YouTube that I utilize. One is Fight CPS with Bob Pace. The other one is Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. Stop Taking Our Children. So you just send the email and then she'll give you the link and you get the link. If you get bounced off, put the link up again. It's a copy paste and you'll be back in business. And you'll be able to talk and answer questions and talk about your case. Talk about your case. And I can take up 9 of you, by the way. 9 of you. With me, it makes 10. And we can all talk and help one another. That's what's so nice. This room has become a family for regular people to come in and say hi and help one another. There have been really good people that have come in here. Really good people. Now, a third way that interacting with this live stream is you can call in right now. That's my phone number. I am live. You can call in and talk to me. 626-698-0990. And with that number that reaches my phone, it's my work number. And during my hour-long stream, you can call in and talk about your case. Now, I am also on from 8 in the morning Pacific Standard Time to 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and from 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock. That's all Pacific Standard Time. And I'm calling people that want Mr. Davis, that want to hire him. I help up potential new clients come aboard with Mr. Davis. So if you're interested in hiring him, I can help you. And I do that. You know, I have my show from 10 to 11, and then before the show and after the show, I do the phone calling. So the number is a good number. It's a good number. So I'm open to questions and topics that you want to talk about. Now, my attorney, there's a picture of him in the upper corner. That's on your right side when you look at the screen. That's Vincent W. Davis. He's a professional licensed attorney in the areas of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Those are the 3 areas that you'll find yourself caught up in with the child protection system. Now, I just say CPS because it's easy. Everybody knows what CPS is. Some is called the Child Protection Services. Other times it's called the Department of Children and Family Services or Department of Children's Services or the Cabinet. Whatever name that they give, I just make it simple and just call it CPS. And yesterday, I had a nice couple from New York, man and woman that's been persecuted because of their income. It is hard when through no fault your own. Also, the lack of education. It is hard. Not everybody is afforded a chance for a good education or to make some money. Everybody has their own path. If you've watched a movie called The Lion King, it's the circle of life. And I use that a lot to explain to people about how you can do your life. Some of you are on for the ride, and some of you it's a fun ride, some of it isn't. But some of you have bigger circles and then little circles because your life ends up short. I have a big circle. I also compare that to railroad tracks. That you're on a train, you're on a journey. And your right rail is your rail to heaven. I believe in God. It's a simple, simple belief. I'm not caught up with the ornate or all the other stuff that goes with stuff. It's simple. I believe that my prayers will get answered, and I believe in praying. And the 10 Commandments are something really important to try to live by. The left side of the rail is your circle life. These two tracks are parallel, and they're connected by timbers, railroad ties. And they represent milestones in your life. They'll connect your rail to heaven. And you're trying to repent your sins and get there. Now, I am talking a little bit about religion, about belief in God, but you need to have a faith in God. It will help you through these hard times. Megan, if you would like to share where you're from, it'd be great. And also, if you'd like to share a story about your CPS, or if you have a question or a story, I'm here. It's not costing you anything except your time. And I'm very sincere and very real. I'm a loving man, as I say. But unfortunately, I was in the same boat as you. And in 2010, I lost my job through no fault of my own. And that's hard to swallow at the age of 60, especially when you have a young family and an old family. I mean, in 2010, I still had my daughter still living with us, and she was in her 20s, trying to go through college. My young kids there, I had my 4-year-old son in 2010. And then I had my 6-year-old, or was it 7? I get so confused. 7-year-old daughter. And then I had my 10-year-old son. So I had a 10, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And these 3 children were our life. They're my wife and I. We really cherish them. We are good parents. We're both educated and come from different families. But we believed in families. We believe in love. And it is hard. It is hard right now for y'all to go through this. And I know Miss Cook from North Carolina, what you're going through. And I'm sorry that you have to go through this. But if you're persistent and patient enough, work with them. Don't try to be a Billy Bad person. Don't try to be tough. I know it's hard not wanting to be tough, but you can be civil and talk to them. I like to share an article written by two authors. Now, these two authors are people that are well respected out there. Um, Let me see if I can find their. Now, these two authors wrote their opinion, and they wrote to the White House. One person is named Dr. Jody Levingston Johnson, who is president and CEO of Social Current. She is a licensed clinical social worker with nearly 30 years of experience in the field of human services. The other one is Dr. Melissa Merrick, who's president and CEO of Prevent Child Abuse America, the nation's oldest and largest nonprofit organization dedicated to the primary prevention of child abuse and neglect. Now, Dr. Merrick and Dr. Johnson wrote an opinion to the White House, and this is found on a publication called The Hill. It's an internet one. It's called thehill.com. It's dated May 12th, so it's pretty relevant. And the article is Children Do Best with Their Families. What they are stating, these two doctors, is that the best place for children to be is with their families. Now, a chorus of voices in child welfare have tried to frame the growing national effort to reduce unnecessary family separation as a threat to child safety. They're saying because the families are together, the children are in danger if a neglect or abuse appears. And I hate to say it, that a neglect and abuse is sometimes exaggerated. Even the mandated reporters that report in and are required by law, 50% of the time they report something that's not true. And that's sad. This is statistics. Now, these chorus of voices in child welfare have tried to frame the growing national effort to reduce unnecessary family separation as a threat to child safety. They said they must separate the family because it's the safety of the child. But what they're selling isn't the truth. What they're doing is they're selling you fear. And that fear fuels a system that too often harms the very children it claims to protect. They put fear in families and people. Now, these two people that wrote this article, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Merrick, says the real truth is children do best with their families. The child welfare system has too long confused poverty with neglect. They think because you're in poverty, you're neglecting your children. Now, Calix's codes are the codes or laws that CPS has to follow or they make their own. There is codes of law in every state and every county. And my rule number 4 says it's very important when you look it up on the internet that you have your placement of words. You start off with the city, the state, and then if you're outside, you put the country. And then you put the letter CPS, and you'll see all kinds of things that pop up. And then you specifically can ask the question, like, what's the code for missing persons? What's the code for this? What's the code for that? There are thousands of codes in every state, millions of codes. So you answer that question, it's the internet. And my rule 4 says you should spend 60 or 80 hours to learn all you can about your case and the people in your case. You take the names and look them up. I hate to tell you, you're like an enemy. They are like an enemy, and you have to fight them. And how do you fight an enemy? You learn their weaknesses, you learn their problems. They need to follow rules, and they don't follow rules. There are rogue CPS. Like right now, I'm talking about how they say because you're in poverty, you're neglecting your children. Punishing families who are poor with separation rather than offering the supports that can keep families together safely. Where are the supports? Social services is supposed to help you with food, shelter, clothing, medical, and education and transportation, even offer you a job. The same thing goes too because CPS is a part of social services. It's maybe not your fault that you're in that situation. In my case, I had lost my job and suddenly I was faced with poverty. No, I still was able to get by because I had money put aside to pay for my mortgage. My mortgages and taxes were $5,000 a month. And I had a $2 million home. Yes, at one time I was making really good money, but I went from $5,000 a week to zero a week. When you're laid off, even though you put money aside, I put aside a lot of money. It won't last forever. And at age 60, I thought, oh, I can get a job. I don't feel 60. I don't look 60. But a lot of people, a lot of businesses don't want to invest their money or time into somebody because they think they're going to die. Everybody has this idea that you die young. I mean, in the frontier days, people died young because of the physical tolls of what they're doing. But as we get older and wiser, I think we live longer. And I think it's more common to see people in their older ages. I have classmates that once a week get together. And this is my high school classmates, the class of 68. And every week they have a Zoom meeting and 20 or 30 people get together and talk. Now they're in their 75 years of age. That's how old I am today. And they look good, they're healthy. And I'd say all the classmates that are participating in the Zoom are in really good shape. They have their issues, of course. But in answer to your questions, there are rules that got to be followed, but you got to tell them, enforce the rules. And the person that does that is called an attorney. That's my rule number 1. If you don't have an attorney, it's like you yourself do an open heart surgery with yourself or a plumber or a dishwasher. There's nothing wrong with those jobs, by the way. But a doctor goes to medical school. He does an internship. He gets a license. He mentors another doctor before he performs any work in open heart surgery. Well, that goes true for the child protection system attorneys. They need to be schooled in juvenile law, family law, dependency law. They need to have the experience of fighting CPS. And my attorney, Vincent W. Davis, is one of those candidates. He has 39 years of fighting CPS. It's not a scam. He is an honest man, and he wants to help you. He gives up so much of his time to help you. He has live streams like myself, where he gives of his time to talk to people out there, to answer questions. He will talk to you. There are ways you can talk to him by calling in at 626-698-0990 and talking on my show, or being a guest and writing an email to Grace at vincentwdavis.com and tell her the day you want to be on, the night and the day, the day and the time, or whatever the time, time and day. And you get a free 15-minute private Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis. He'll talk to you for free on Zoom in a private consultation and answer your questions. You just have to make a list of questions and prioritize the questions and ask away. He's not a clock watcher. He will help you. He cares, and he tries to help everybody. That's his only, I think, his failings, is he tries to help everybody, and he extends himself out so much. He's in Arcadia, California, and if you have a case in LA County, typically a retainer is $5,000. He's a $500 an hour attorney. But like the other day, I was getting a quote for Atlanta, Georgia. It was $125,000. He has to add on per diem. He's got the airfare to get out there, the ground transportation from the airport to the hotel to the court. He has to be able to drive there. He also needs accommodation, a place to get a good night's sleep, and also food, because it's hard for you to make groceries and do food when you're traveling. So those 4 areas he adds on the retainer. And the retainer is based on the complexity of the case and how long the case is going on. But he will help you. In fact, if you want to hire right now, I have a second number. It's in red and white, and it's 888-888-6582. You call there, you'll get reception. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you, and then ask for Mr. Davis if you want to retain him. When you talk to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. But he'll work for your case, whether you're in Pennsylvania or in Northern California or Southern California. I mean, he's all over the place. He's all over the place. Now, we have a couple little activities this morning. I know it's early. It's Sunday. It's the day that we go see our Lord and say special prayers for our family. And that's what I plan to do after this show. That's why my show's on early, so that I can attend church and pray for all you guys. I pray for you every night when I go to sleep. Before I go to sleep, I pray for all my family on here. And I have so many of you that have opened up your hearts and your stories. So many of you that have been abused. Some of you are single parents, whether you're a mom or dad. It's hard. Because the best people are the biological moms and dads. Not all foster care is bad. Not all child protection social workers are bad. But there's enough of them that over 1,700 plus people I've talked to have a bad case. And as I was reading this article by these 2 doctors, their opinions, they're trying to sit there and tell you that the real truth is children do best with their families. Now, the welfare system, which is the child protection system, has far too long confused poverty with neglect, punishing families who are poor with separation rather than often supports that keep the families together. According to the federal statistics, 75% of children maltreatment cases involve neglect, not abuse. Neglect is the key point of child maltreatment, is neglect. Neglect. They're not fed. There's a case of a boy, a 10-year-old boy who was forced not to eat by his parents. He's down to 36 pounds running on the neighborhood trying to get food. And it's sad because he had a tragic death because their adopted son strangled him and killed him. So I know that neglect in 75% of the cases are go on like that. Abuse is really hard. And that child was very well abused there too. Now, the 75% is neglect. And it's labeled as neglect. It's frequently a symptom of poverty because there's inadequate housing, food, or insecurity, lack of child care, or missing medical appointments. That's what's so important. And hello there, Margaret. Long time no see. Good morning, Margaret. And thank you so much for the prayers, the greatest gift anyone can give to another. You believe me, Margaret. I do. I do care. Margaret is from Kern County, California. She's hired Mr. Davis. And a couple weeks ago, she got the criminal charges removed by Mr. Davis. And now she's trying to get her children back. And she says, can you bring up the story online regarding the 6 children that were taken by CPS in Los Angeles 4 days ago? Yes, what they did, Calix Cruz, they not only put the parents, they were convicted because the parents, they were 48 years old, each received 40-year prison sentence and 20 years of probation. That's 60 years that they're going to be there well after over the age of 100. They're put away, but that doesn't bring back the child. Now, Margaret King is talking about a story that 4 days ago, so I got to look this up. I'll find it right here. Now, I'm trying to look at it right now. I'm not sure if you have the county right, but there's 3 people arrested on suspicious of torture after severe prolonged abuse of 6 children in Victorville, California. A man and 2 women have been arrested on suspicion of torture in a case involving the severe and prolonged abuse and neglect of 6 children in Victorville. This is according said Tuesday. The suspects were identified as residents. I don't need to talk about the people, they're irrelevant. It was released and issued by San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. Now, I don't know why San Bernardino is involved in Victorville. Anyway, the alleged crime scene was described as being in the 1300 block. While they give the address, yeah, near Amethyst and Bear Valley Road. The Sheriff's Department Crimes Against Children Detail launched an investigation on February 13th. The children were taken from suspects. I'm trying to find it. The victims, the 6 children, are ages 5 through 16. Each are held in bond of $1 million. I'm not sure this is the one you're looking for. I'm looking for it right now. Here's another one here. I think this is the same one. Yeah. The physical, emotional, and mental abuse went on for years, including daily beatings and strangulations and withholding food and water. They say a Victorville couple and their adult daughter, who fostered children, were charged Wednesday with child abuse and torture. The older couple are 60 and their daughter is 23 and is scheduled for 15th for arraignment. So it's still in the early stages. The neighborhood. I have no idea. Victorville. Oh, wait, Victorville. Victorville. That is in LA County. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of up in San Francisco. Victorville. A Victorville couple and their adult daughter who fostered children were charged. The kids were taken from their parents for their own safety. The county social workers abused them, they said. Oh, this is something different. This is down in San Diego. The kids were taken for their own safety, then the county social servers abused them. And this is down in San Diego. There were children of domestic violence, parents haunted by drug addiction and other traumas, taken from the home by social workers, convinced they'd be safer in the custody of San Diego than with their own parents. But in case after case, boys and girls were sexually abused by people charged with protecting them, according to a spat of new lawsuits filed against San Diego County. Some of them were drugged to keep them vulnerable and easily to molest. The plaintiffs say, in addition to repeated sexual assaults, others say they suffered physical and verbal abuse by social workers at the Polinsky Children's Center. You see, you have these foster homes set up, and most of those report abuse over the course of decades, including some abused by dozens of predators. Were told to be quiet or simply disregarded, the lawyers and lawsuits allege. Based on our investigation, the County of San Diego was apparently one of the largest employees of child molesters in the state of California. That was said by attorney Blake Woodhull, who represents scores of alleged victims. Many children reported to the staff administration that they were being sexually abused when they were at Polinsky. He said others pleaded for help but were completely ignored or dismissed. The alleged abuses happened decades ago, mostly in the 1990s and early 2000s. But the case has been piling up in San Diego County and elsewhere since lawmakers in 2019 passed the California Child Victims Act. It rewrote the statute of limitations for people who are abused by institutions as minors. County officials are being undone today with lawsuits after lawsuits alleging horrendous behavior by social workers. Men and women are accused of sexually exploiting children as young as 8 years old. Earlier this year, the San Diego Union Tribune reported that the county has already faced dozens of lawsuits involving its probation department, which runs the region's two facilities that house boys and girls ordered into custody by juvenile justice system. This is horrified. There's over 200 lawsuits. Many of the complaints say that social workers, probation officers, and the other staff remain committed to do their best to protect and nurture children under the case. We prioritize the safety of our children and youth in all our care, the county said in a statement. The county has comprehensive training, rules, procedures, and additional oversight to ensure the safety of youth. Even though the allegations date back years, the county will thoroughly investigate all the claims made in these cases, the statement said. We remain committed to the protection of children in our county. San Diego County has a difficult history when it comes to protecting vulnerable children, both in probation department custody due to the court orders and those who were removed from their homes by social workers. Over the past 7 years, the county has paid out at least $11.7 million to victims who were injured, abused, or killed during neglect or misconduct by child welfare systems. There should not be $1 paid out because they're bad. They are bad. One of these cases involved Michael Hayes, a county-approved foster parent who molested twin brothers for years, even though they repeatedly reported the abuse. That was published in 2018. The county, which returned the boys to the Hayes multiple times before they were finally believed, agreed to pay a $3 million lawsuit to the brothers to settle their lawsuit. Hayes pleaded guilty to molesting and was sentenced to 21 years in prison. The Polanski Children's Center opened along Ruffin Road in Keens Mesa in '94 when it replaced the declining Hillcrest receiving home near the bluff overlooking the Mission Valley. At that time, the Polanski was celebrating it as a new beginning for Children Protection Service in San Diego, a 24-hour safe house for the region's most vulnerable youth. Most children cycle through relatively quickly before they return home or placed with a relative or foster home. The average length of stay is 7 days. The state-of-the-art facility includes 6 residential cottages, classrooms, a gymnasium, a library, and other amenities. It is licensed as an emergency shelter that can house up to 204 children at a time and accepts more than 100 minors each month. Services focus on the children's safety and meeting the immediate physical, emotional, social, and spiritual well-being of each child while returning to families or their placements. But according to lawsuits and other public records, employees have not always met their responsibilities. Instead, the failures outlined in the legal complaints share a basic pattern: boys and girls being sexually assaulted, physically and verbally abused, over-medicated and neglected by staff, and the accusations being ignored by managers even after being reported. One of the more terrible cases were brought on by SG, who filed his lawsuit against the county last month. He was 8 years old when he landed at Polanski in 2002. According to his lawsuit, SG was molested by 4 separate employees, including one woman. He was groped over and under his clothes, forced to fondle and orally copulate the predators and reportedly raped. He said the county knew or should have known about the abuse, but nothing was done. Despite the foregoing, no action was taken, no investigation was completed, and predators continue to sexually abuse and assault the plaintiff. The children within foster care system were habitually sexually abused and assaulted while in the defendant's custody and care. Defendant's agents or employees were aware of such abuse and assaults and yet said the abuse and assaults were not reported as required. Now, similar accusations were brought forward by plaintiffs at a press event last month held just down the street from Polanski facility. Speaker after speaker, almost all who declined to provide their names, said they had been abused, over medicated, and physically and verbally assaulted after they moved into the Polanski as children. You don't just get over being drugged and abused, said one man who's among the dozens of plaintiffs now suing San Diego County. I was a child in need of protection, placed in institutions supposed to provide safety and care. Staff did not believe me. They failed in their duty. He said, his voice cracking, this is not just my story. This is systematic failure that must be addressed. A 35-year-old woman who called herself Jamie and said she too reported being abused at Polanski when she was just a girl many times, but her allegations went nowhere. She urged others to come forward to somehow hold officials accountable. I know that we're young and didn't have a choice about what happened to us, but today, she said, we can bring some form of justice, not only to ourselves, but for all the other victims who have not come forward yet. Failed to supervise. I mean, this goes on and on and on. This is terrible what's happened down there in San Diego. And I'm sorry. This is, yeah. Yeah, Margaret, I did bring that up there. I have a question, Bob. When a child's placed with relatives, is it required of them to obtain a foster care license? Not with a relative or next of kin. There's no license required. Foster care is usually not next of kin or a family member. Foster care is an individual that needs to have a license to take care of children. That's why they contact the child protection system and get that license. But next of kin don't need a license. Now, Dorothy is asking, does CPS have insurance that they pay for the wrongdoing by their employees? Or is it the taxpayer dollars paying for the wrongs? Sad to say, I don't know that question. And I think it varies. But I'm sad to say it's the taxpayers that pay all these horrendous lawsuits that happen in our justice system. It really is. Um, Now, the child protection system does not have immunity under federal civil rights law. If CPS files a lawsuit against you, you have the right to a court appointed attorney. To initiate a lawsuit against CPS, you file a complaint in the federal district court that has jurisdiction over the CPS agency. You can also research cases filed against the Department of Social Services in your state to understand the legal system. Now, there's an article that talks about how to fight CPS in federal court. And I believe that's the best place you should fight them, not necessarily state court. You should have an attorney because it's the best way you're going to win your case. Try to fight them yourself is just too hard. It's too hard. And there's a lot of articles you guys can see there. So I don't want to. In fact, I've gone over my time right now. I just looked at my clock. Hello, Nisha from California City, California. We have Margaret from Kern County, Dorothy Cook from North Carolina. CPS made the relatives obtain her foster core license. I believe it would be easier for the kids removed legally if they did not have a foster care license. Yeah, yeah, this is sad that people sometimes get carried away. I'm going to have to curtail my live stream. I've gone over way far over. I got caught up on talking about the best care of our children, and then I talked about two terrible things that happened about the 6 children. That is so sad in LA County and San Diego County. The lawsuits, over 200 lawsuits in San Diego County. I know that LA County just got a lawsuit the other week for $4 million against them. Yeah, Margaret, it's sad that a 23-year-old girl would help their parents. Jeez. Well, I want to thank you all, and God bless you all. And it's nice to see you come in. You're a little late there, Nisha, but that's okay. And yes, God bless you, Margaret King. God bless you, Nisha NYP from California, California. Margaret's from Kern. God bless you, Dorothy Cook. Dorothy Cook is also Calex Cook. I think it's the same one. She just has another Facebook account from North Carolina. And I want to thank all of you. And Megan Wilson, who started off the show this morning. I have still no idea where you're from, but I'm glad that you came in. And thank you all for the emojis. That is great. And I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is my next show. Don't forget, Monday morning, instead of 10 a.m., I'll be on at 8 a.m. I have to be in court at 10 o'clock on Monday. So I want you all to protect and fight for your children. God bless you all. I'll say special prayers in church.